Welcome to Performance Car Lounge, where each week we speak with enthusiasts selling their beloved performance cars. This week, we speak with the seller of a Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 Hennessey Exorcist. Welcome everybody to the Performance Car Lounge podcast. This week, we're very lucky to have the seller of a limited edition, one of three in Australia, Camaro ZL1 Hennessey Exorcist editions. Welcome, Mark.
Okay, thanks very much.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about how you came to be the owner of this unique car and the process involved?
Yeah, sure. The Hennessey Exorcist, of course, which is a Hennessey upgrade to the Camaro ZL1 platform. I think I first came across it maybe in 2018, 2019, something like that. Might have been 2018, I think. The time my wife and I were looking at various options for a performance vehicle, and it just piqued our interest because it was around that time that John Hennessey had started manufacturing or producing these vehicles. He did it in response to of course the Dodge Demon, which was being produced around that time, and the Dodge Demon, as you know, was very much geared towards a straight line drag type vehicle. With very high performance values, over the 0 to 60 miles an hour and quarter mile type arrangements. And at the time, John Hennessey had, I think he heard the Demon was coming out, and I think he, from what I can gather from what he said online and whatnot, is that he came up with a concept first, but didn't know what car he was going to put it against, and because he wanted to build a car called the Exorcist that would, of course, would be kill the Demon,
Yes.
so to speak. So. Yeah, so he, I think he looked around for a bit, and then the Camaro ZL1, I think it was a 2017 platform for that, which was a massive step up from previous Camaros. I think yourself a little bit familiar with that ZL1 platform, and that 2017 model was starting to be touted as a very, very accomplished, not just a high performance vehicle, but track capable vehicle. And it was the first model, I think, where the designers had been allowed to deliberately exceed, or at least match and exceed the performance of the Corvettes that were being produced. But previously, the Camaros weren't allowed to
Yes.
outspec the Corvettes, whatnot. So that 2017 Camaro ZL1 was and still is an incredible platform that when it first came out. Did 19th fastest lap around the Nürburgring in this track form with the altered aerodynamics and a very, very capable machine. And so John Hennessey said, right, that's going to be my my platform that I'm going to build the Exorcist on. And he being the tuner he was, took hold of that vehicle, and the upgrade essentially is rip out the existing supercharger that was on it. Apparently, it was too small, and put in a large capacity Whipple supercharger in it. Ported the entire engine, redid all the intake manifolds, and upgraded the complete exhaust and drivetrain to take the extra power, and took that from about 750 odd kilowatts, horsepower, up to 1,000 horsepower to create the Exorcist package, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's got a different camshaft in there as well. And
Uh, yeah. The whole
you can tell.
the aspects of the drivetrain and the camshaft and everything was it's been done right. I mean,
Okay.
it's actually a vehicle that will go on the track, and it will handle that sort of power. It's not a cheap upgrade on it. It's quite expensive. And of course, the Coupe de Grace they did it, even though the ZL1's not necessarily built like the Demons were for straight line drag. He did manage to get it onto a track. I think it was a bit higher altitude, maybe, I'm not too sure, but he
Yeah.
definitely got it. He definitely got it in at least one run, and it beat the stats of the Demon, and that's all he wanted. He never did it again, which
Yeah,
would be
but
fair enough.
it is
Yeah,
worth noting, you touched on an interesting point. The Demon very much is a straight line car, and to achieve those numbers, the Demon is needing, like, you take the front tires off it and you bolt on the lighter weight drag front
yeah,
wheels. It requires an ECU change, I think, as well,
Yeah.
and a few other
Yeah.
changes, and it's really just set up to run that
Oh,
quarter
yeah.
mile time.
The quarter mile.
Whereas
Yeah.
the ZL1, like you were saying, is a proven chassis on racetracks, and in this Exorcist guys, I think it was running times pretty similar to a Porsche GT2 RS around the Nürburgring. So
Correct. Yeah.
it's not a one trick pony. It's very much a well rounded package, built on a proven platform. And like you said, it's not a cheap exercise or a light exercise. I think there's about 60 hours of work that go into the transformation from a normal ZL1, which is a huge horsepower car to start with, to
Yeah.
something that's putting out actually over 1,000 horsepower in its finished guise. And
Mm.
it's KPM Motorsport, who are based in Adelaide, that do the work for Hennessey, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Look, absolutely. And so when we decided we wanted one, at that stage there was no ZL1s in Australia. There was no plans to bring them in, and so we actually approached SCD American that was in Brendale in Brisbane at the time.
Yes.
And they were bringing the demons and converting them across, and as well as a number of other more utility type American vehicles, the larger Dodgers and whatnot, the Rams and whatnot. They were converting them across to the right hand drive. So we approached them, and they were really good. They because they were sourcing and procuring vehicles in the US, they said, "Well, look, we'll take that on for you. We'll find a ZL1 from a dealer over in the US and ship it across and do the conversion for us." So that was the first big task, was actually to find a ZL1. Not always easy to get it over there because the dealers won't sell it to you if you tell them they're going to ship it offshore.
Right.
And so, yeah, so the first one they were going to purchase actually fell through because they found that the dealers found out that they were going to ship it to Australia, so they refused to sell it to them. But they brought it across. They did a great job. They converted it, and that's not an easy job as either. And to be honest, the SCD American, they did that one and decided they were never going to do another another ZL1 after it. Apparently the demons were much easier to convert to right hand drive, but they did it, and they stuck to the original cost that they gave to us. And of course, prior to that, we had already contacted KPM Motorsports down in Adelaide, who at that stage had just been certified as the only Hennessey dealer or workshop outside of the US, and they still remain so as the only Hennessey dealer outside the US. And so once the conversion was done in Brisbane, we shipped it down to KPM in Adelaide, and they did the Hennessey package down there.
Yeah, and
Mm,
Hennessy only licensed KPM Motorsport to produce three Exorcist cars in total, and
correct,
yours is number one of those
correct,
three.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so we were well ahead of the pack in that. So they were only at that stage they'd only just been licensed, and it was a bit of a learning curve for KPM as well because they were just a newly appointed Hennessy agent. So yeah, we sent it down there, and at that stage, HSV had not even announced that they were going to bring in the ZL1s and do the ZL1s down at their plant down in Melbourne. So we the first Exorcist, which as you say was 1 to 3, and that was the deal. So Hennessy only licensed 3, and we were the first of those 3. And so Hennessy have limited it to 100 full stop. So there's not the 3 include the 100, so there's only 97 in the US and 3 in Australia. So if you want, and all 3 are now gone, by the way, too. But we're well and truly ahead of the pack there because we bought in our own ZL1, and so it's plated the 001 in Australia, and it's the only one that didn't go through the HSV plant down
in Clayton there. Yeah, and you said that KPM were, sort of, it was new to them, this type of work, but KPM Motorsport have been around for a couple of decades, building strong, fast engines and tuning very fast cars for the track. So I think you're in pretty good hands with those guys. And the car actually on the dyno has put out over 1,000 horsepower, 1,027 horsepower. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, and Absolutely. When I said that, I didn't mean that they weren't experienced in doing that sort of work. It was the first time they dealt with Hennessy, of course,
Yeah.
and so Hennessy insisted on a lot of the because as you said, there's a lot of components that were replaced in the ZL1, including the camshaft and a lot of the exhaust and there was a lot of engine parts that were replaced, including valves and whatnot. And they were all had to be built and manufactured in the US at the Hennessy plants and shipped out. So the process for KPM was new to them to deal so intimately with a tuner like Hennessy and do everything to a very clear prescribed specification. But look, they were fantastic. KPM were fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good guys to deal with for sure.
So this is a huge horsepower car. What led you to this car? Have you owned other cars before that you know brought you towards this point?
No, I didn't. No, it was a one-off purchase, I guess. And yeah, I like the sound of it, and I like I like the base car, which is the ZL1, and just
Yeah.
thought it would be a very iconic vehicle to have. And I was looking at purchasing something like this, but I figured that something that this is this iconic and rare as this might keep its value and might have a bit of a rare interest factor in it, which it does.
Well,
So
especially
yeah, it
now
was
that
just
Chevrolet aren't making the Camaro anymore, and Dodge aren't making
the
the
demon,
Demon anymore. It's only really Mustang left in the pony car world. So this, yeah, certainly is something that's
yeah.
it's unique.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And it's and you say it's a huge horsepower vehicle, and it is. It's an absolute beast. And it wasn't long after we got it that Motor Magazine contacted us and wanted to do a spread on it, which they did. And of course, teamed up and spoke to the guys out at SCD who had still had a demon floating around. So of course, Motor Magazine did a full spread, the American muscle cars and the Exorcist versus the Demon, and they took ours out in the Demon and drove them around some of the mountain tracks in Mount Mee around the back of Brisbane there, and yeah, they took it out for a day and did a big a whole spread, a feature spread on it,
Yeah, so that
which
was
was
the
really good.
October 2019 issue of Motor Magazine.
Mm,
So if you're interested in this car, that's definitely worth checking out that article. But I'll
yeah.
also have all the photos of the car on the performancecarlounge.com.au website. So for anybody who's interested in finding out more about the car, just head to the website and I'll link you through to the ad. You can get in contact with Mark if you want to know more. And Mark, I'd be interested to know what's it like to drive. I've driven a stock ZL1, and I found that to be a terrific car to drive. It was very communicative in its steering and feedback, and then it had massive power, and it had that quite a distinctive supercharger whine, even in the base model. Well, I'll call it a base model ZL1. What's the Exorcist like to drive?
Yeah, surprisingly, it's still very tame to drive if you want to take it gentle. It's pretty easy to move around the place. It doesn't have too many bad manners, when you're just driving around the streets. That said, it's a significant step up in sound. You can hear it coming from a long way away. And one thing that I've really found with it is the attention it gets. People stop and turn and watch it go past. It sounds like a supercar going past. Like a super. So one of the race cars.
Yeah, that's one of the things
Yeah.
I really admire about the car is
Mm,
that it has this presence through its engine and the sound it's putting out,
mm,
but it doesn't have any extra body parts or like add-ons to a regular ZL1. It still retains that
it's
stock look, apart
mm,
from a few stickers and decals, but
mm.
it just has
It's
such presence.
Yeah, I'm still astounded by it. Even though I've had it for so many years, and you drive it down the street, and I took it out even a couple of weeks ago. I just went over to the north side to a house in the suburb, and just pulling up on the street, parking. You don't think about it, but there was a couple of young kids, and they probably would have been 7 or 8 driving bikes down the bikeway nearby, and I could see them looking as I was driving up, and I just pulled over and parked and sort of went into this house, and I looked out. I went out the veranda and looked out, and these kids had actually driven past or ridden past the road, and then come back and
Yeah.
were sort of sitting around the car taking photos of each other around the car, right? And it still astounds me because I sort of maybe I'm used to it a bit. I don't know, but you don't even get that with someone driving a Lambo, you see so many of them, but this just seems to, and it's not just the look, it's the sound.
Yeah.
It is just a deep rumble.
It's got that supercharger whine and a really lumpy
Oh,
idle, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. Look, absolutely. And I say, it still retains that easy to drive that the base ZL1 does to a certain extent. But certainly when it's in idle, the Exorcist itself, it gains a real sort of lumpy sort of, and sometimes you got to sort of, you find yourself pushing the brake a little bit harder just to make sure it doesn't sort of jump forward at the lights at idle type of thing. It's definitely got that higher end lumpy tune, and of course that's when you're being gentle with it, but. With 1,000 horsepower, you can get yourself in some serious trouble really quickly if you start to try and squeeze that squeeze
Well,
that accelerator too hard, too fast. And I could see someone getting themselves in all sorts of trouble with it because it does.
oh,
It goes hard. Yeah.
oh yeah. So you're saying this is a car that you can drive around and it can have gentle street manners, but it will then do the quarter mile in 9.57 seconds, which will
Yeah.
get you booted out of most drag strips in Australia unless you have a cage bolted
And
into.
parachutes and stuff.
Yeah,
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 correct. Yeah,
yeah.
cage and yeah, all sorts of things. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
look, absolutely, and I think that the zero to 60 figures it did when it on the drag strip with the sticky tyres, it was 2.1 seconds. That's just insanely fast. It's so quick,
yeah,
and of course driving around the streets, you get yourself in trouble because that just translates into wheel spinning, and yeah. Even with a 10-speed auto on it, you pretty much spin those wheels at any speed. You can be doing 100 on the highway somewhere. If you want to try and plan it at 100, you're stupid enough to do it, then you'll lose traction. It's just so much power.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, probably not a car for someone who's just got their license. Probably
Yeah.
needs a bit of an older head on the shoulders to
Oh, look, absolutely, yeah. I've got a 19-year-old son who's obviously growing up and in his car years with it. And well, I say he has driven it. It certainly wasn't legally. It certainly wasn't insured. It was a brief trip around the corner, basically.
and
But
how
yeah,
do you
he's always been chomping at his bit to get hold of it. But car like that, unfortunately, you can't give him too much leeway.
no? And do you find it difficult to get insurance for the car?
No, no, not at all. Shannon's have been fantastic. They've insured it since we've had it. No, and they've been fine. Shannon's a specialist in this sort of stuff, I
Yeah.
think.
I've
So
said it before. Just about everybody I have on the podcast has their car insured through Shannon's. They don't sponsor the podcast, but they probably should. So if you're listening and you work at Shannon's, reach
yeah,
out. Let's
yeah,
talk.
exactly. Yeah,
And
no, look, and it's surprisingly cheap too. Because you got low kilometres on it, we let them know that it doesn't really get driven much, and so they're happy to have pretty reasonable premiums on it comparatively.
yeah, yeah. It's also worth mentioning for anybody who's interested in this car, there's a Grand Tour episode that's certainly worth checking out. It's very entertaining where you've got James May, Captain Slow, who is driving the Exorcist, and Richard Hammond is driving the Dodge Demon, and Clarkson's in the RTR Ready to Rock Ford
Yeah,
Mustang, and I reckon it's obviously very entertaining, but it actually does demonstrate the abilities of the Exorcist very, very well, and the fact that James May wins all the races.
yes,
It,
yes. Well, not really. I think in the last one, he went in the actual drag. I think Hammond took it out, but they did it well in the fact that he did win, but they were ready to go, and he said, "Oh, just hang on a minute," and of course he had to change the front tires, and he had to change this, and he had to change that to get all the demon across into
yeah,
the into the drag thing. But No, it was a good episode and well worth watching if anyone wants to have a look at it. I think that was the episode 1 of season 3, 2 or 3,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
based in Detroit, of the Grand Tour.
Yeah.
And they were very iconic, and they took the Exorcist there, and I think James May called it demented at one stage.
Yeah.
The Exorcist, he's just demented, the amount of power, but it was good. And I think the classic that came out of that, this classic scene that came out of that was where both the demon and the exorcist were dragging down the highway and like on the streets of Detroit somewhere, and they just didn't want to stop. They just kept on going, and they did it again and again because they had so much fun driving his car.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does sound like a wonderful, fun car to own. Why are you letting it go?
Oh, look, various reasons at the end of the day, and so sometimes you got to call it quits, and there's been certain changes in personal circumstances and all that sort of stuff, not monetary wise, but yeah, it's just I find I need more space in the garage, and it's there, and uh, we, we always had it as a something that was it's never been driven in anger, this particular car. It's only ever been driven to shows, car meet shows, and and casual runs around the place, and it's got very low kilometers on it. You sort of get sick of that after a while, and I don't want to take it, on anything more. So it gets to the stage where it's time to move it on, right? And because it's only so much of that you enjoy.
Yeah, let someone else enjoy it. So
Yeah,
what we've
yeah.
got here is in excess of 1,000 horsepower, limited edition, one of 3 in Australia, one of 100 in the world. Camaro ZL1 Hennessey Exorcist. How much are you asking for the car, Mark?
Look, currently I've got it up for 330. To be honest, I think that's actually not a bad price on it, considering it cost not much less than that, and there's no more. The all 3 are gone. So if you want to bring one into Australia, you're going to have to bring it out of the US already made, and thanks to all the taxes, you're going to pay a lot more than 300 for it. But look, if someone's pretty keen, I'll drop that into the twos. And, I wouldn't mind moving it on. So yeah.
I think that's a very reasonable price, given that even a base ZL1 now, you can't find below, close to 200 grand for a good one, a low kilometer one. And the fact that you had yours in the country early, you've had it converted, you've had that Exorcist edition pack basically installed, which is 60 hours of work from a specialist workshop. That's a huge project.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
very
Well,
special.
even when we had it done, the Exorcist conversion itself was about $75,000 just to take and that's after you bought the ZL1 in and converted it. Yeah, it was it added up, But now I think it'd be a lot more if you could do it, but you can't because they're all done. And they have tried. So at one stage, the guys down at KPM rang us up and sort of said, "Look, we've got a lot of interest to do more. Would you be happy if we did more?" And we said, "Well, no. The deal was 3, and that we bought it on the basis that it was 3 only. So that's
Yes.
the way." And they were good. They just said, "Yeah, look, fair enough. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the agreement. We'll leave it at that."
All right. So if you are interested in purchasing this car, head to the performancecarlounge.com.au website. I'll have all the photos of the car there, description of the car, and a link to Mark's ad so you can reach out to Mark directly if you want to know more. Mark, it's been great having you on the podcast. It's
No
been
problem,
a
Stuart.
fascinating
Thanks.
chat, and
Mm.
I wish you all the best of luck with the sale. I'm sure you'll miss that car.
No, look, it'll be missed, and it's a great car. It's got very low kilometres on it. It's in excellent condition, and if anyone's keen to take it on, I'd be happy to pass it over to the right person. Right? It's a good car.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us at Performance Car Lounge. If you have a performance car with an interesting story that you are selling, contact us at performancecarlounge.com.au.